There's a sneaky new AI phone call scam draining bank accounts using voice cloning technology.
My daughter's voice crying and sobbing, saying, "Mom," and I'm like, "Okay, what happened?" She's like, "Mom, these bad men have me. Help me, help me."
I heard our daughter on the phone. Like, it was unmistakably her.
It was his voice. It was absolutely his voice, Carlos. There was no doubt about it. $25,000 is now out of my wife and my retirement savings. Gone.
Fourth time, after I needed more money, RCU said, "This isn't right. It's a scam."
The scam hasn't abated. Since that article came out, I've received 20 to 25 calls throughout the country of people who have been contacted by Barry Goldstein and who had lost money. And they were devastated. I mean, they're emotionally and physically hurt. They almost were calling to get a phone call hug because they were so upset.
If you're not constantly on guard, you could pick up the phone thinking it's your mom, your son, or your daughter pleading for their life and begging for money, only to find out later it was a scammer halfway across the world. This scam is spreading fast across the country, and the numbers prove it. Imposter scams are officially the #1 type of fraud, according to the FTC, meaning more people are falling for them than any other scam out there. And a survey of 7,000 plus people across 7 countries found that 1 in 4 adults has encountered an AI voice scam. 1 in 10 was targeted directly, while 15% knew someone who had been scammed. And here's the worst part, 77% of victims lost money. Once the scammers got them on the hook, their bank accounts got drained. So coming up, you'll see how a corporate attorney, really an expert in fraud, still fell for the scam, how many victims get trapped in a cycle of making a withdrawal after withdrawal until their account hits zero, and how if you fall victim to this scam, you're 100% guaranteed to never see a dime of your money again. And before I forget, I put together a free checklist to help you lock down your identity and keep scammers out for good. It's super easy to follow and packed with quick steps with clickable links to secure your accounts, block payday loan fraud, protect your tax records, and more. Plus, I even included over 10 agencies where you can report scams just like this. And I just created another freebie to help you remove yourself from data broker lists so those shady companies stop selling your personal info. All you have to do is click that link below to grab them for free. First, let's talk about a grandfather who lost $1,000. So Lee Hall's father was enjoying a quiet afternoon when the phone rang. On the other end was a familiar voice, his grandson, Christian, but something was wrong. He sounded terrified. He said something like, "Grandpa, please, I need help. I'm in trouble." His voice was shaky, his words rushed. It was unmistakably Christian. He told his grandfather he was in Mexico on vacation with friends and that he had gotten in a bad situation. He said, "I was drinking. I got into an accident. I need money to fix this." Lee's father had no social media, no email, no online presence whatsoever. So it's astonishing that these scammers even knew that they were connected in the first place. But in that moment, all that mattered was helping his grandson. And that's when the real manipulation began. Scammers don't want you thinking, just reacting. Lee's father asked questions, and Christian's voice responded instantly, naturally, just like in a real conversation. It felt so real that doubt never even entered his mind. The scammer instructed his father to send $1,000 through a wire transfer service. Lee's father rushed to the bank and sent the money that day. And just like that, his money was gone. Hours later, Christian's mother called his real number, and he answered just like usual. He said, "Hey, Mom, what's up?" She said, "Christian, where are you?" And he said, "Mom, I'm in Dallas. What's going on?" Her heart was pounding, I'm sure. She turned to her husband and said, "We've been scammed." So the terrifying call, the desperate plea for help, it was all fake. Next, Anthony lost $25,000. Anthony was going about his day when his phone rang. This time the voice on the other end was his son. But yet again, something was terribly wrong, wouldn't you know? Who he thought was his son said, "Dad, I had a horrible accident. I hit a pregnant woman. She's in the ICU." Anthony's heart was racing. The fear in his son's voice was clear. The panic, the desperation, it all felt too real. Then the call abruptly ended. Seconds later, another call came in. A man introduced himself as Michael Roberts, an attorney representing his son. He said, "Your son's in jail. He needs $9,200 for bail immediately. If we don't act fast, He'll be in there for 45 days. So now Anthony was in full panic mode. His son's voice was still echoing in his head. He tried calling his son back, but it went straight to voicemail. That sealed it. He must really be in jail. So Anthony rushed to the bank. He told them he needed money for a solar panel installation to avoid suspicion. They approved the withdrawal. Back home, his daughter called the lawyer for further instructions. Lawyer said, don't worry, an Uber will be there any minute to pick up the money. And when you know it, right on cue, a car pulled up. Surveillance footage even showed Anthony's daughter handing a manila envelope to the driver. And just like that again, $9,200 was gone. Now, minutes after that first handoff, the phone rang again. This time, it was a different lawyer, Mark Cohen. This time he said the worst happened. The pregnant woman died. Anthony's stomach dropped at that point. Then he said the bail was increased. You now need to send another $15,800. So with his son's future on the line, he did it all over again. Another trip to the bank, another cash withdrawal, another Uber driver picking up that envelope. Now $25,000 flat was gone. Next, hours passed. Anthony and his daughter started researching online. And then she said the words that made his world crash down. She said, Dad, I hope I'm wrong, but I think you've just been scammed. Anthony grabbed his phone and called his son's real number again. He said, hey, Dad, what's up? His voice was perfectly normal. No accident, no jail, nothing. His son had been safe the entire time. So the voices he had heard, all generated by AI. Then there's Grandma Shirley. She lost $14,000. It was just a quiet, random afternoon when Grandma Shirley's phone rang. The caller ID showed a familiar name. It was her grandson. She was relieved to hear from him. She answered, but obviously something was wrong, right? That's when he said, Grandma, I'm in trouble. I broke my nose. I have stitches in my mouth. His voice was shaky, pained, and urgent. Shirley's heart sank. Her grandson was hurt. Then came the explanation. He had been in a car accident and was now in jail. But before she could ask questions, another voice took over the call. A man introduced himself as her grandson's lawyer. He said, ma'am, your grandson was in a terrible accident. He hit another car. A pregnant woman was involved. Shirley could barely process the information before he laid out the stakes. If she paid $9,000 in cash, the charges would be dropped. But if she didn't, her grandson would face a long and difficult legal battle. The money had to be delivered in cash immediately. For Shirley, her only thought was saving her grandson. So she rushed to the bank, withdrew $9,000 in cash, and then followed the instructions. Her Ring camera captured the moment she handed the envelope to a man in a baseball cap. Then she waited for news about her grandson's release. And when you know it, Shirley's phone rang again. This time, the lawyer's voice was even more serious. He said, ma'am, I have bad news. The pregnant woman's unborn baby has died. Shirley broke down and became hysterical. She was now terrified, not just for her grandson, but for what might happen next. He said the charges are now much more serious. We need another $5,000 to keep him out of prison. So still shaken, she paid again. So another cash withdrawal and another handoff. Now $14,000 was completely gone. And just like the earlier stories, Grandma Shirley picked up the phone and called her grandson. Her grandson picked up and he was completely fine. In that instant, humiliation and shame washed over her. She had been fooled from the start. So the scam isn't just about money, it's about your worst nightmare coming true. It plays on your deepest fears of your loved ones being in danger. This scam is more like psychological warfare. Even if you don't send a single dollar, the emotional damage is real. You know, just imagine the sheer panic of thinking your child has been kidnapped. That kind of fear sticks with you. And the only way to protect yourself is knowing how it works before it happens to you. So the first step that these scammers take is targeting who they want to prey on. The scam isn't just random. Scammers specifically target people who are most likely to believe the lie. And older adults are the #1 victims, especially those with children or grandchildren. They often have retirement savings scammers can drain. They may not be tech savvy, making them less familiar with AI scams. They tend to be more trusting and quick to help loved ones in distress. And a lot of them are grandparents. Many of them are used to receiving surprise calls from family members. And scammers exploit their natural instinct to protect their grandkids. And the idea that AI could be used to fake voices, that's unbelievable to most older adults. Even if a grandparent has no social media, their children or grandchildren might be making it easier for scammers to link family connections. And then step 2, scammers steal a voice sample. So the scammers don't need much, just a few seconds of someone's voice to create an exact copy. And they can get it through social media because that's a gold mine. You got TikTok and Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, any platform really where your loved one has spoken. Even voicemail recordings can be used. All they need is a 3-second clip, but if they find more, the AI generated voice becomes even better. And then step 3, the AI generates a voice clone instantly. And this isn't some futuristic technology, it's happening right now. They can use AI tools like 11 Labs, Resemble AI, and deepfake voice generators that can create an exact replica of one's voice. And the clone voice matches tone, emotion, and inflection perfectly. They can even generate a real-time conversation. So no more need for pre-recorded messages. The scammer can now talk back and forth like a real person, responding to questions, adding emotion, and convincing you it's really them. And then step 4, the urgent high-stakes call. The scam always starts with panic. Sometimes late at night or early in the morning, your phone rings, you answer half asleep and unprepared, and then the voice on the other end is going to be your child or your grandchild or your spouse. They say something like, "Mom, I'm in trouble. I need your help." And they sound terrified and desperate. You can hear the fear in their voices. And then they have that usual story that unfolds. For men, the story is going to be like, "I was in a car accident and I injured someone. I need money to settle this now." But for women, it's going to be more like, "I've been kidnapped. They're going to hurt me if you don't send money." And then step 5 is they're going to give you a second call because they want to go in for more money. So once the victim sends money one time, the scammer knows they'll likely send more. All they do is add a new twist to increase fear. The victim, already emotionally invested, feels trapped into paying more money. And then there's step 6, which is the payment scam. And that's going to be how they tell you to send the money. So scammers only use payment methods that can't be reversed. They'll never ask for a regular bank transfer or a credit card because those can be disputed. Instead, they demand for cash drop-offs and couriers. So the scammer is going to send an Uber driver to pick up the money, and the victim hands it over in cash, thinking it's for bail or ransom. Another one they like is a Bitcoin and cryptocurrency ATM. They'll direct you to use that ATM to withdraw the money. And once it's converted into crypto, it goes offshore and it's gone forever. They like the wire transfers because after a couple of days, the money is irreversible. And they definitely like prepaid gift cards like Amazon, Apple, and Google Play. They tell you to buy multiple high-value gift cards. And so once you read the codes off over the phone, they will sell or launder that money instantly. And I got to tell you, banks do not offer refunds on the money lost in these AI voice scams. You might think, but this clearly is fraud. The person on the other end was a scammer. Well, it doesn't matter. In the bank's eyes, you willingly sent the money over. And once that cash is gone, it's gone forever. I personally haven't seen a single victim get their money back in this case. And listen, if anyone should have been able to outsmart this scam, it was Gary, who was a corporate attorney. Yet even with his legal knowledge, he was completely powerless. Gary got a frantic call from someone who sounded exactly like his son. He said, "Dad, I'm in jail with a broken nose. I was in an accident. I hit a pregnant woman. She's in the ICU." The scammer tried to rush him into sending thousands of dollars using fear and urgency to cloud his judgment. Later, after his real son called and proved he was fine, Gary realized it was all fake. But instead of staying silent, he decided to fight back. Then he reported it to law enforcement, and when no one took action, he even testified on Capitol Hill in front of the Senate to expose how this scam ruins lives. And during his testimony, Gary shared his experience with lawmakers, warning them about the growing threat of AI voice scams. And that's when he revealed that after he went public, 25 people reached out to him, all victims of the same scam. These weren't just people who lost money, they were emotionally shattered. He said they are emotionally and physically hurt. They almost were calling to get a phone call hug because they were so upset. And that's when Gary realized this scam isn't just stealing money, it's breaking people down. So if you want to protect yourself from these sort of AI voice scams, you got to recognize the red flags that someone is using AI to scam you. One thing you want to look out for is the caller sounds exactly like a loved one, but something feels off. Their voice may have unnatural pauses or strange audio glitches. Maybe they pressure you to act fast and keep it secret. They'll say something like, "Don't call mom," or "You have to send money now." Those are huge red flags. Real emergencies don't require total secrecy. And if they say they don't want you to hang up, maybe they insist that you stay on the phone the entire time, preventing you from verifying the situation. Or they may ask you for money in untraceable ways like wire transfers, gift cards, crypto, or cash drop-offs. That's going to be a scam for sure. Real bail payments or medical bills don't demand those methods of payment. So if you want to stop AI voice scammers before they get you, you want to hang up and call the actual person back. Scammers can't intercept a direct call to your real family member. If the number is spoofed, your callback will go to the real person's voicemail or ring through normally. You could even text your loved one while keeping the scammer on the phone. And so if they respond, you'll know it's fake. Another thing you can do is check their location. So verify their phone location via Find My iPhone or iOS or Google location sharing on Android. If you can verify that they're at work or home at school, then it's a scam. Another thing I've heard people talk about is creating a family safe word. What you can do is pick a secret code word only your family knows. So if someone calls claiming to be in trouble but doesn't know the code, it's a scam. What you can do is keep it something uncommon but memorable, like blue elephant or grandma's lasagna. Now here's what I like, which is asking a trick question, which I think is even better than a safe word. What you can do is throw in a personal memory only the real person would know. Like, tell me what I said last time we spoke or saw each other. Maybe even, what's mom or dad's middle name? What's our dog's name? What's your special nickname for me? When is my birthday? What's the name of the restaurant we ate at last time we were together? If they hesitate or get it wrong, you've caught the scam. And you can also limit your voice exposure online. So be mindful about posting videos, podcasts, or voicemail recordings publicly. Scammers scrape social media for voice samples and link them to family members. Another thing you can do is set your social accounts to private so only trusted friends can see your content. And if your account is public, never ever post exact travel plans or current locations. Scammers are actively searching for people who are far away from family to make their fake story seem more convincing. And I gotta say, this scam is becoming harder to avoid because so many people have content creator aspirations and post their voices online daily. But a few smart habits can really keep you from being the next victim. Now, what can you do if you do become a victim? If you're watching this, you're in a terrible situation, and I won't sugarcoat it. Most of these steps won't get your money back, but they're still worth trying. At the very least, you can make noise, file reports, and help expose the scam. So you can contact your bank immediately, see if you can get your money back. You can file a police report just to help substantiate and give more evidence to your claim. And then you can report it to the federal authorities like the FBI, Internet Crime Complaint Center, or IC3. You can report it to the FTC and their fraud department. And you can even still report to the CFPB and their complaint center. Now, I know a lot of people are saying the CFPB is completely shut down. That's not technically true, but it's barely functioning. So as of March 10th of 2025, the CFPB is still open, but its enforcement power has been gutted. The new administration has halted most of the activities, laid off staff, and slowed consumer complaint processing by 80%. You can still file a complaint, but with a drastically reduced team and ongoing disruptions, so don't expect much action, if any. Many enforcement cases have already been dropped, and compensation funds for past violations are stuck in limbo. So for now, the CFPB is still standing, but it's a shell of what it used to be. But I wish I could say this was the only scam that you need to watch out for. Unfortunately, that's just not true. Listen, scammers are out here working overtime, coming up with new ways to drain people's accounts every single month. That's exactly why I put together a playlist with all the biggest bank scams that you need to know about. We're talking about sneaky phone scams and shady credit card tricks, and even scams that banks won't warn you about. So don't wait until it's too late. Click on the playlist right here and stay one step ahead of the scammers. Thank you for watching.